Good morning.
Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation of White Plains. I am Tracy Brenneman, your worship associate. We are happy you are here, no matter who you are, what you believe, where you're from, or how you came to us. Welcome. We're glad to see you. We gather as a community that believes there is a unity that makes us one. All souls are sacred and worthy. Courageous love transforms the world. Truth continues to be revealed, and we are all loved here, now, and always. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life. Later in the service, we'll share our joys, concerns, and milestones, and here in Fellowship Hall, we'll pass a microphone for you. It is my pleasure to welcome our guest worship leader, Reverend Jennifer Brower, Minister Emerita of the UU Congregation at Shelter Rock on Long Island, is now a private coach who specializes in grief and non-death losses. Her calling is to help folks rediscover wholeness after loss. She's a native of Manhattan, a graduate of Union Theological Seminary in New York City, and the proud mother of a son who's a college sophomore. Would those of you in the room please silence your phones?
Thank you, Tracy, for that warm welcome. It is a pleasure to be back with you all. I am really impressed that you are here. I figured everybody would be online today, so I am really impressed to see human beings here in this space. And you even have visitors, newcomers with you today who came with a baby. You know, when that college sophomore was a baby, I never would have driven him anywhere in weather like this. So we need to talk to those people, but you know, we're glad they're here. So I will say this though, every time I come see you all, it pours. So next time we're going to do this, let's wait until there's a drought, okay? Because that was a really tough drive. All right. So would you please join me in our opening words that are to be delivered responsively? They should be available to folks who are joining us online. And for all of you here, these are the adapted words of the Reverend Carol Meyer. here in this sacred space and connected through our electronic devices, we're gathered together, people of different ages and life stages.
We come together in hope.
We greet each other warmly with our voices and our smiles and our waves to those who are online.
We come together in peace.
We acknowledge our interdependence and our unity.
We come together in harmony.
We share our growth and our aspirations.
We come together in wonder.
We share our losses and our disappointments.
We come together in sorrow.
We share our concern and our compassion.
We come together in love.
We come to this time and place bringing our doubts and our faith.
We come together as seekers.
For all of these reasons and more, we come together in worship. Tracy, would you join me? I share with you these chalice lighting words, which are greatly adapted from Bill Schultz's words. As we light our chalice, symbol of our faith, may this sanctuary of peace restore our spirit. May this house of memory and hope comfort and strengthen our soul. And may this place of prophecy open and guide our heart. Thank you.
For those of us joining online, for those of you who are joining online, you can always find the words that are spoken in unison or our hymn lyrics on our website, cuucwp.org. And for those of you in the room, I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our gathering hymn. It is in the gray hymnal, which the hymnals are in the cards in the back, and that is number 27, I Am That Great and Fiery Force.
This is the time in our service when we share our joys, sorrows, and milestones from the week. Kim will pass the microphone and I will light a candle as you share so that we can hold what you're sharing in the warmth of our community.
I just want to say what a joy it is that summer services are not less than. They are rich and full. We have people here over 90 and under 3 months old or something. And everywhere in between. I just think it's gorgeous and wonderful. Happy to be here.
For the joys and sorrows that are not spoken, but we hold in our hearts. We hold them with grace, healing, hope, and love. And we light one more candle for those seeking the community that we have found here.
I invite you now into a time of prayer and meditation, following your sharing of joys and the holding of sorrows, likely, and certainly worries for the world, if not for yourself. I was raised a Presbyterian, and there was no extemporaneous prayer in the Upper East Side Presbyterian church that I grew up in. It was lovely. It was very formal. When I became a Unitarian Universalist, I discovered that UUs struggled with extemporaneous prayer. Didn't really want to call it prayer anyway, whatever you want to call it. Struggled with the language, struggled with the act, but had the urge for something, the yearning for something. So I invite you to get comfortable in that seat, as comfortable as you can. Stretch your body out as much as you can. Breathe in deeply, because you just drove through like an ocean, which is stressful. To be here with people you don't know or people you do know. But you came here for a reason. So take a deep breath and be here with me now. When I was in seminary decades and decades ago with Deb Mora, I called the holy the grand scheme of things, because I couldn't think of another word for it, and I didn't want to call it God. Grand scheme of things, here we are gathered in the fellowship hall with thanksgiving for the air conditioning. We give thanks that we got through today's giant puddle in order to be together. May our being here with one another, friends and strangers and something in between, be strengthening, enlivening, comfort bringing, joy bringing. For some of us who live alone, this is maybe the most contact we're going to have for a little while. So let us soak it in and let us offer that connection to each other today. And for those of us whose lives are full to overflowing, let us feel like we can share some of that with others and offload some of that energy so we can go back into our week refreshed. We come here today with worries for our world, worries for our nation, worries for our local community, worries for our family systems and places where we volunteer and work and live and move and have our being, and worries for ourselves. May we find strength in one another. May we find the resources within and beyond that help us carry on and make the most sense out of every day. Let us appreciate this deluge of rain for the life that it brings to the planet, for our little neck of the woods. And let us take a minute to hold in our hearts, in the silent sanctuary of our heart, in that deep and private place, whatever needs sort of tender holding. We hold it in private and know that we are supported by the energy of the people around us, even if we are home alone right now and watching this. You're part of this. And we are part of the grand scheme of things. Uttered in silence, I say amen.
In every heart there is a room, a sanctuary safe and strong to heal the wound. And so it goes, and so it goes, and so will you soon, I suppose. But if my silence made you leave, then that would be my worst mistake. So I will share this room with you, and you can have this heart to break. And this is why my eyes are closed. It's just as well for all I see. And so it goes, and so it goes, and you're the only one who knows. So I would choose to be with you. That's if the choice were mine to make. But you can make decisions too, and you can have this heart to break. And so it goes, and so it goes, and you're the only one who knows.
As Reverend Brower just noted, the universe has given us a second chance. While we listen to Diane play the offertory, we invite you to give more.
Spectacular ministry of music you have here, and a good sense of humor. And I'm going to do the tacky thing of leaving my water glass there. So I hope you'll forgive the guest for being kind of tacky. The reading I'd like to share with you today is that of Bob Holmes, founder and editor of the online community and blog Contemplative Monk, for which he is also the resident singer, photographer, and muse, or so his bio says. This is his work, Breathscapes. When the east wind breathes into your soul and the morning sun warms your face, pause in the solitude, sink into the stillness, expanding with every breath, savoring as things settle and clear. Instill clarity, perceive with childlike wonder the breath of dawn, the light dancing in your heart to heal you, to hold you, and to make you whole. When I was a kid, my older brother David liked to watch Evel Knievel. And what my older brother did, I did too. David is 7 years older than I am, far enough apart in age for us to like each other. We also look alike, which helps, though he is bald now. Our sister between us, 5 years older than I, 2 younger than David, she doesn't look like us. We used to call her the milkman's baby. It wasn't very nice. But David and I have always had a bond. On weekend afternoons, on Sundays like this, we'd sit too close to the giant console TV, you know, those that are like this deep, this high, there's no remote, there's hopefully some little kid to stand there to turn the channels. We'd sit too close to that console TV, listening to the commentators saying a lot, blah, 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 and saying nothing at all, with gleeful anticipation of some spectacular stunt. After all, Evel Knievel was like no other. He was considered good looking, even if kind of rough around the edges. He was like a G.I. Joe in a flashy white jumpsuit and cape. He's like a flying Elvis. On his motorcycle, he jumped cars and canyons and hoops of fire. And all these many decades later, he still holds the record for jumping the most number of buses on a motorcycle. He jumped 14. And if it wasn't completely clear by that stunt, the man was utterly and completely unhinged. But he was an amazing showman and a self-promoter who knew how to draw a crowd. He often said, and I ask for your patience with this, he often said, kids wanted to be like him, men wanted to be him, and women wanted to be with him. Yeah, right, grown. He was a man of another time, to be sure, colorful and narcissistic too. And the world wanted the likes of him as much as he wanted fame. They went hand in hand. But there's another Evel Knievel quote that when I read it made me feel a certain affinity for the risk-taking, body-busting braggart of a showman. When asked why he repeatedly took his life into his hands, doing these terrifying and often really unsuccessful jumps on his motorcycle or in a car, right? He said, I love the feeling of the fresh air on my face and the wind blowing through my hair. I said, what? What? That is so warped. So warped, a terrible reason for a career. Terrible. And it makes perfect sense. Now, while it is true that I don't know you all well, I know you a dot. And I know some of you are rather brave folks. I am willing to bet that none of us here have taken the risks that Evel Knievel took, although I did feel like it this morning, I will say. But lots of us share the need to feel the fresh air on our face and the wind blowing through our hair or over our scalp. We drive with the car windows down. We buy convertibles to be out there in the air. The forced air pushed through an MRI machine is the best thing in the world. It is soul and sanity saving when you're lying still on that table with pounding jackhammers all around you. The Dutch have a practice known in English as the outblowing, which is the intentional practice of spending time in the wind to clear your mind, which when I read about it reminded me of a song by the band Sunbolt, Windfall, which describes driving down the road with the wind taking away your worries and your woes and your shames and your failures. The song tells of feeling freed from all that heavy stuff that weighs us down in order to make way for new experiences. Let the wind take it all away. So while I'm not about to jump 14 buses on a motorcycle or in any other way, I get what Evel Knievel was saying. And I am certain that many of us get it. There is nothing like the feel of the wind. The beach, on the water, in the yard. It is sometimes cleansing and soothing and grounding, like the Dutch outblowing or that canned air in an MRI. And at other times, the wind is big and scary and destructive. As I drove here, I thought, oh, please don't let there be trees down in my way. Please don't let there be trees down. It reminds us, that wind, when it's like that nature's power is raw and that our place in creation is very small. The wind is elemental, frightening, and delightful. It's essential. The movement of air is what allows us to speak and to sing and to create music. It's mighty and marvelous, completely invisible, and absolutely necessary. A fundamental part of life. When I first read Evel's words on why he took up a career of stunts, I was reminded of a book I read when I was preparing for my son's birth so many years ago. It's lovely to have little people with us here today to be thinking about their arrival in the world, since my kid is so freaking old now. The book made the point of saying that parents should hold in mind that everything a newborn experiences is entirely new. All right, so no surprise there because they're newborn, right? But there's something of an aha moment there that everything they experience is entirely new. And the very first of these experiences, the author mentioned, was the feeling of air moving over the newborn's skin. The movement of air on our bodies and into us through our first breaths are our first sensations. Can you imagine not knowing what air feels like? How weird that must be. And how cool is that? The feeling of air moving across our skin and our peach fuzz and our hair is there at the beginning. The movement of air in and out through our breath, our first experiences of life. The wind is there at the beginning. And this is true in religious texts too. And we're all big enough UUs to be able to talk about Hebrew and Christian scripture today, at least to explore it a little bit without getting all twisted up in knots. or not getting our knickers in a twist, as one of my roommates used to say when I was young. The wind is an early and then often mentioned sacred element. In the first chapter of Genesis, in the first story of creation, in describing the birth of the world, the story goes, in the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was without form or shape, with darkness over the abyss, and a mighty wind swept over the waters. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Before those well-known words about light, we have the mighty wind, which in Hebrew is the Ruach Elohim, the Spirit of the Most High. A mighty wind, the Spirit of the Most High, the force of creation, moves across the face of the deep and over the water. There at the very beginning, before the light, before the dome of the sky, before the stars, before the land, the plants, the people. The same word, ruach, is used later in the book of Genesis to describe the animating force that is breathed into the human being by the Creator. And I have to say, over the years, many decades now of scripture study, this is one of my favorite passages for what it represents. We'll get into that. And then the Most High formed the human of dust from the ground. And the Most High breathed into the human's nostrils the ruach, the breath of life, and the human became a living creature. Some years ago, there was a book written, When Breath Becomes Air, about death. When the breath within us ceases to be life-giving breath and becomes just air, though it's still marvelous. I was really struck by this passage, the idea that we are animated by that marvelous, mighty wind, breathed into us and carried with us through every breath until the end. The breath of life, the ruach, which in Greek translation is the word pneuma and the Latin spiritus, the breath of life, the ruach, the pneuma, the spiritus, the animating force that brings us into being. And this word appears hundreds of times throughout the Hebrew and Christian Bibles. And like each, the ruach, the pneuma, the spiritus, in Taoist philosophy and healing, all forms of life are animated by the essential force, the chi. Chi, in other words, also means breath and air. All of them. Invisible, silent, formless, yet they permeate the living creature. As one author has written, in this case, the chi is to the living being what electricity is to all of the things we use and love. Without it, without the chi, without the energy, all functions grind to a halt, and breath becomes air. So communicated through different words and different languages and found in different religions and philosophies, there is this animating wind, the breath of life, the vital force at our center. Indeed, so common are the references to the mighty wind that some say it's this essential essence at our center that defines us, that we are not, as I'm sure you have heard said, human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual breath beings having a human experience. And that it's this breath, this spirit at our center, which intimately and inextricably links us to the holy, called by whatever name, perhaps the grand scheme of things. As some of you may recall in the story of the burning bush, Moses speaks to the bush. He has the nerve, such chutzpah. He has the nerve to ask the name of his God. And the Most High answers, I am who I am. When written down, the name of the holy given to Moses is recorded as YHWH or YHVH, which is referred to as the sacred tetragrammaton, meaning the sacred 4 letters. It's a very big word for 4 letters. As you may know, also the original Hebrew text included no vowels. So in order to pronounce the tetragrammaton, vowels are added and we get Yahweh But the sacred tetragrammaton was considered literally unspeakable. Any attempt to speak the tetragrammaton would be fruitless, or some might say, in vain. Now, the unspeakability of the tetragrammaton has long been recognized, but there are some creative religious thinkers who believe that this was intentional. We'll never know, but it's interesting to explore with them as they explore this creatively. They believe that it's intentional that we cannot pronounce the name of the holy, that the invisible holy cannot be named, that whatever God is, whatever the nature of the numinous, the transcendent, cannot be put into words. Some are convinced that the tetragrammaton is not a word to be pronounced, but the very sound of inhalation and exhalation. It has been suggested that the letters YHVH represent breathing sounds, aspirated consonants that in the Hebrew alphabet would be transliterated as yod, rhyming with road, which we would transliterate as a Y. Hey, rhyming with say, which we transliterate as H. Va, as in lava, which we transliterate as a Y or a V or a W. And hey again. I'm going to invite you to join me in an experiment, which is a little weird. I'm going to tell you that right out front. It's a little weird. You're going to be thirsty when we get finished. It reminds me a little bit of box breathing. I'm going to invite you to join with me in breathing through these aspirated consonants. It takes a minute to get the hang of, and you need to do it with your mouth open, right? You have to breathe through your mouth. So first I'm going to tell you what it is. First, there's an exhalation to the sound of yod, and then an inhalation to hey, and an exhalation to va, and an inhalation to hey. Slow, gentle, but I invite you to try it with me. So it is, yeah. And so it goes. On this mysterious subject, one contemporary Christian writer, David Gray, has written, "For far too long, there have been those who have insisted with a certain righteousness that the name of God is so holy that we dare not speak it because of how unworthy we human beings are. Through this work, through this lens, perhaps the truth is that always, everywhere, waking or sleeping, from the moment we draw our first cooing breath until our final exhalation, we are speaking the name of the holy. We are speaking the name of the holy every time we breathe." Braggart and showman that he was, Evel Knievel was tuned into something far greater than himself. May it be likewise for us. With every breath we take, may we feel the holy, called by whatever name, moving through us, enlivening us, reminding us of all that we're capable of as living beings, and connecting us to every other living thing. So may it be, and amen. We join in our closing hymn, which you're going to tell us all about and guide us in.
I'm going to say you could stay seated for this one. Unless you feel moved to stand, that's absolutely fine too. So this is the meditation on breathing. It's number 1009 in the teal hymnal, you may find you might not even need the hymnal to read. It's quite a short hymn, but we'll repeat it together. It's a bit of a meditative chant. And what we'll do is we'll start together, we'll all breathe together a few times, and then Christian and Terry will lead this side of the room on the part that says breathe in, breathe out. And then this side of the room will sing, let me make sure I get this right because it's delicious. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. And when I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. So Diane, if you can give us like a little something underneath while we breathe together. And let's breathe in through our noses and a nice loud exhale through our mouths. So go.
As we bring this time of shared reflection to a close, I share with you again the words of Bob Holmes. When the east wind breathes into your soul and the morning sun warms your face, pause in the solitude, sink into the stillness, expanding with every breath, savoring as things settle and clear. In still clarity, perceive with childlike wonder the breath of dawn, dancing in your heart, to heal you, to hold you, and to make you whole. We join now in our chalice extinguishing words, which will be on the screen and are printed in your order of service. The words of Sarah York. We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown.
Thank you for joining us this morning in this beautiful community that responds with grace when we get a little off track. We share our appreciation for Reverend Brower as our worship leader this morning. And we invite those here in the fellowship hall to stay for refreshments and conversations after service. We ask adults with children in childcare to please pick them up first. And after service, you may leave your chair in place and put your hymnals back in the cart. And remember to put your name tag in the basket in the lobby. There are cards in the back for you to sign for Erin Carlin and Kate Snow. Details about activities here at CUUC are available in your order of service and our weekly e-communitarian, which you'll find on our website, cuucwp.org. Before you get swept up back into the busyness of life, please take a moment to see the abundance of activities here and ways to connect. It has been a gift to be together. After our parting music, we invite you to please spend a few minutes talking with someone you don't know, and may we all know the blessings of community.
Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love, and endless aching need. I say love, it is a flower, and you its only seed. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never it's the dream afraid of waking that never takes a chance. It's the one who won't be taken, who cannot seem to give, and the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snows, lies the sea.